Hello. Thank you for joining us for the Alternative Breakfast special events to promote school breakfast. My name is Ellen Dillon, and I am the Breakfast Grant Manager for Action for Healthy Kids. This webinar has been devised to help schools, volunteers, and community members discover the benefits of hosting an event to promote school breakfast and tips on hosting a successful event. For those of you who aren't familiar with Action for Healthy Kids, we are the national nonprofit organization supporting school wellness through physical activity and nutrition programs in schools in every state. We support the nation's largest volunteer network focusing on school wellness, and many of our more than 20,000 members nationwide are on the call with us today. Our vision is that all kids develop the lifelong habits necessary to promote health and learning. Let's get into some quick logistics and make sure everyone is able to see and hear properly. First off, please note that you can listen via the telephone line or the speakers. If you look on the right-hand panel, you'll see an audio button, and you can choose whichever works best for you. But know that everyone is muted due to the number of attendees on the call today. Feel free to submit a question. We really want to hear from you. We want to know what your experiences have been. If you have questions as things are being discussed, we want to be able to either try to answer them ongoing or hold some of those questions towards the end and be able to answer them for you. So please go ahead and submit those questions as they come up. Note that this call is being recorded. We will be sending out a recording link tomorrow, and then we will also be loading these onto Action for Healthy Kids website so that you can find them at a later date or refer to friends or colleagues to be able to learn more about the webinar or other webinars that we have hosted in the past. So all that information will be sent to you following the webinar today. And let's do a quick, you'll notice on the right-hand side here that we have a thumbs up. When we see that thumbs up, that means that we are going to be launching a poll. So we're going to do a quick poll just to make sure everybody is able to hear and see. Okay, and we want to just do a quick check. So if everyone would please make sure they note if they can hear and see. We do seem to have pretty good success. Everybody's hearing and seeing well. If you're not seeing, you should be right now seeing a blue screen with a right-hand panel that looks very similar to what you have on your right-hand side of your screen. And that's what you should see. Okay, let me just do a quick troubleshoot. Make sure that if you are not able to see, raise your hand, and in order to do that, you can just click on that little raised hand symbol, and that way I'll know who it is that's having trouble seeing. It looks like 96%, a very small number, might not be able to see. If you cannot see, my suggestion would probably be to close out and maybe try to log back in, because I think we're moving pretty successfully through. Okay, the agenda for today looks a little bit like this. We've gone through the webinar logistics. We'll do introductions, myself, as well as I will introduce our speaker from one of our local schools, and then we'll talk a little bit about why we're even focusing on school breakfast and events. And then we'll get into the who, what, when, and where, or where and when, of hosting an event. We'll talk about communications, promotion, and resources. We'll hear from our school, which is Ingenium Charter School in Canoga Park, California. And then we'll have that opportunity to answer questions. We'll talk about some next steps, and then talk about an Action for Healthy Kids pledge to help end childhood obesity. So we have a pretty packed agenda, but the plan is that we really should be able to wrap up well before the hour, even with a full set of questions and answers. So please don't feel hesitant about loading in a question, and we will get to them as we move through, or definitely by the end. And if for some reason you have a question that doesn't get answered, we will follow up via email. Okay, as I mentioned, my name is Ellen Dillon. I am with Action for Healthy Kids, and I am the Breakfast Grant Manager. One of my primary roles is to work with a variety of schools and school districts on helping to change their breakfast programs into an alternative breakfast model. We have worked with in the last 2 years with groups of schools to host events, particularly around National School Breakfast Week, but they can really be held at any time. And what we're going to do today is really kind of focus on what can an event look like. Really, events can take all kinds of process, and so really it can look any way you want it to be, and it can really be customized based upon your school and your school's needs. And we're going to be able to hear from a very successful program that was started at Ingenium Charter School in Canoga Park, California. We'll hear from Rachel Garfield, who is the assistant principal there and who was instrumental and very involved in the event last year at her school. So before we get started, we really want to think about why are we focusing on school breakfast and having an event? Well, these are some of the things that we felt are really some of the highlights that you can see as a benefit of hosting an event or focusing on school breakfast. You'll see an increase in school breakfast participation. Now, is it all tied just to the event itself? No, but it all really supports the ongoing effort. So if your school is considering making an alternative model change, your school is considering, maybe it's already made those changes and now really kind of maybe needs to either boost some communications or really wants to celebrate the things that are happening. What we're finding is hosting these events is really able to help to speed up or jumpstart that breakfast participation too. It increases support from leaders in the community. So depending upon whom you elect to invite to your event, it can be small, it can be larger, and the more people that you are including and the leaders in your community who might be those people that are maybe not so interested or maybe not so positive about this, then maybe those are people that you might want to make sure you are including in your breakfast event. It'll also increase those stakeholder buy-ins. So maybe it might be parents that are the stakeholder that you want to go to. It could be the teachers, and you might want to include them in a more of a proactive manner. It could be bringing in those who are the decision makers in your county or in your district to be able to really see the benefits of some of the things that have been happening at your school. At this point, I just want to do a quick check and make sure. I just got a note that somebody was not able to see the screen move on. So you should see why focus on school breakfast. And if you're not seeing that, just do me a quick favor. Just send me a quick note if you're not seeing it. Okay, great. So at this point, in addition, okay, let's see. Let me go back real quick. We're still not seeing it. Hold on one second, please. Okay, there, that should help. And at this point, I think almost everybody should be seeing the screen. I apologize for that. Then we will talk about that. You can use this as an opportunity to educate parents. A lot of parents really are very unclear as to what's going on in terms of school breakfast. You might say, oh, but I send things home all the time. Or, I know my school is putting in flyers in their backpacks and maybe they do robocalls and tell parents about things that are happening. But I can tell you that many parents aren't either seeing it, either it's not happening, not coming home, or they're really, really busy, and it's one of those things that just doesn't get paid attention to the degree that we were hoping it might be paid attention to. So this is a great opportunity to educate them, not only on those changes that you might be making, but in terms of healthier foods that you're introducing to their children, or even the fact that it doesn't taste like what they might think it tastes like. So doing a taste test or something like that is a great opportunity to educate parents too. It develops positive PR. We know that many schools are in either low-performing districts or maybe in a low-performing school, and that they're making lots of changes at that school. And so being able to really focus and show that not only are those changes with an academic focus, but it's also on the health focus on students. And it's really easy to piggyback on National School Breakfast Week. It's the same time every year, the first week of March. This year it's the week of March 4th through 8th. So by hosting an event during National School Breakfast Week, you're already hosting and tagging on to national press, national attention on school breakfast. You can use it to kick off breakfast changes, as I mentioned, and maybe you've gone to an alternative model, or maybe you want to show the healthy foods that you're offering to students. It creates excitement throughout the school, and I think we'll hear that especially from Rachel a little later on when we hear from her about what was happening at her school. And you know what? That excitement really can carry over. It can carry over whether it be a wellness focus, or it can carry over onto the school breakfast programming. And bottom line is it can really change those preconceived ideas and notions about school breakfast, whether it be from the students, the parents, teachers, or any of the adults that might be coming in to your school as an attendee, as a guest. And by changing those preconceived notions, which are often a negative, and we all know that people have these thoughts of what they think breakfast is at school, that it's only for certain people, or that it's only for those children that are on free and reduced, or only those kids should be coming to breakfast. Really, no, that's not the case. And once they see it and realize it's a healthy option and that everyone can participate, it really is one of those things that can really change the perception of school breakfast at your school and community. The biggest thing about hosting an event that focuses on school breakfast and holding it early in the morning or during school breakfast is that it doesn't impact the whole day. A lot of administrators, teachers don't want to see events at their school during the day. It impacts instructional time. But hosting it during breakfast is really great because parents, attendees can come early in the morning and they're gone. Most breakfasts are served before school, or maybe the first 15, 20 minutes of school. So if you think about it, you can host an event that really does so many positives, but yet has very little overall impact on the academic day. And that's a big selling point into those that you might need to convince as to why this is important. You can incorporate breakfast with other wellness efforts. And we'll hear from Rachel later on where she'll talk a little bit about how they tagged it on with some physical activity. So many schools are working on wellness efforts. And so breakfast, while you might focus on it, doesn't always have to be served just at breakfast time. If you have a captive audience in the evening, great opportunity to share with them about some of the changes that are happening in terms of breakfast. And bottom line is it lets others know that the health and success of all children is important to you and your school, which really goes a long way because we all know that the bottom line to all parents is they want their child to be healthy and successful. And they know that your school cares and is interested in that too. It really helps to foster that support. So the bottom line is, why not focus on school breakfast? So at this point, you should be thinking about who should attend. And well, it really depends on the type of event. But I'm going to pause right here, and we're going to go ahead and host another quick poll, because at this point, we want to kind of start to think about, have you ever hosted an event in your school, any type of event, for families, for community members, for anybody, any type of hosting an event. And this really allows us to see, what our population on the webinar has done in the past, and it looks pretty evenly divided. It looks like about half of the attendees have hosted an event, and about half of you have not. So great, thank you. All right. So who can attend an event? Well, you can have different types of an event. What I'm going to talk about today, you could probably say, oh, but I could do an event that might be a little different and it might look a little different, and that's okay. We just decided that we could categorize our events. So we could have students, and those students can be current students at the schools, but you can also invite attendees who are previous students or maybe older students who might want to come and be helpers, student leaders, might come in and be models for the role models for the students, student athletes. You might be in a location where the they might have a championship basketball team, and wouldn't it be really inspiring to children to be able to see them coming in and being a part of their breakfast. You can also invite parents and grandparents and other caregivers to attend, and those would be your family members coming in and being a part of the event. You can invite community leaders, and this is, you have local leaders, and then you can start to expand out to your state and national. You might think about, we've had schools that have hosted events where they've had the school board members, they've had local dignitaries, a mayor has attended. It depends on the size of your community. Small towns, it's really easy to bring in some of those community members. But if you're in a larger location, you have different opportunities and different leaders within your community that you can also tag on to. But don't also forget about those hunger organizations and community partners that might work close in hand with your school or your school district. And then bottom line is you can expand that out to some of those national or state level organizations. It could be your state Department of Education. You can have USDA representatives or other partners, statewide hunger organizations, Action for Healthy Kids volunteers. It really is dependent upon what you want your event to look like. So these are some of the different people that could attend it. And so when we start to think about the who, we don't want to forget that who's going to do the work and who's going to do the planning. So who also involves who's going to be involved with the planning of the event. So think about planning as a team approach. You're going to need someone who's going to take the lead, and this can be anyone. This can be a PTA member. This could be a community hunger organization that's coming in and working with the school. It could be a food service. It could be an assistant principal. It can be anyone that really is able to organize and to delegate, because we don't want one person to plan the whole thing, because that's it's problematic, and then B, if that person should ever leave, then it can't ever be replicated. So having that team approach is really important. You do need support of administration. So you can use that why list of why to host or why to focus on breakfast and allow them to see that to help persuade. You want to plan with food service as to what types of foods you're going to host and what you're going to serve, how you're going to serve it. Is it going to be a grab and go like you have in your school for your students? It's going to be breakfast in the classroom. So working with your food service to plan is really important. Getting and enlisting the support of your local PTA is a great idea as well. So think about all those other organizations that you are working with that can really help to make this an important and successful event, but also more importantly, that can really help to bring in different ideas, different perspectives, and those outside partners are always key too. I'm just going to do a quick pause. We seem to be having some fluctuation in our screen. Okay. All right. Bear with me. Okay, so what is a special event? Well, an event can be, when I was talking earlier about who we could have attend, that really kind of helps to think about what kind of an event that might be. So it could just be an event that takes place with just your students at your school. It could be something that's very low-key. It could be a taste test. It could be part of a school assembly. It could be a field day. There's all kinds of things that are always happening at schools that just really involve students as being the main attendees. There might be other people that are involved in terms of volunteers, but primary audience there is the students. And then there are other events that are really focused on the family. These could be a breakfast or a lunch with a parent or grandparent. It could be a family fun night, anything that really focuses on bringing in the family and focusing on bringing children and families together to focus on whatever it is that is the primary activity of the event. Then there are others that start to really expand beyond the immediate family of the school, which would be the parents or caregivers involved with the students. You start to get outside of the local school, but moving into the community. So it could be that you're involving those community leaders and partners. So it could be a breakfast or a lunch with a hero, having a local firemen or policemen joining in, a local military coming in and being part of an event. It could be a local health fair where you're bringing in some opportunities to share about what's happening in terms of health and maybe some health screenings. Or it could become a larger event where more people are included. Maybe it's a reception to highlight an award or a really significant achievement. Maybe, your school was a, at risk for a takeover by the state, but your testing scores have rebounded and all kinds of things have happened at your school that's really positive. So lots of celebration could be going on, and maybe it's a more formal, larger community event. So often when we think about this, we have to start thinking about, well, where would something that I might host fall into play? So here we're going to do another quick poll. And we just want to be thinking about if I was going to host an event, and not saying that you're going to be doing that, but which event do you think your school would be interested in possibly hosting? It could be a student event, a family event. It could be any of these, and it could be all of them. So if you could just go ahead and take a moment. Oh, just give me a second. There we go. And think about, you know what, I might be interested in hosting an event, and here's what I'm thinking would work at my school. I'll just take another second or two. Okay, so it seems like right now those that have voted are seeing what would be realistic as being that student and family event, and then also the smaller local community event, where that larger scale community event might not be something that you're either ready for, and that's quite okay because it's not meeting your needs. But for some of you it is, so know that those are all options. So what we're going to talk about today is how to fit an event into one of these different categories. All right. I think that will be the end of our polls. Sorry for the confusion on that first poll. So when we talk about what, and we want to think about taste tests. One of the things that I really find to be really beneficial, especially when it comes to school breakfast, is to host a taste test. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on how to host a taste test. I'm going to give you a resource. Action for Healthy Kids has a podcast or a mini webinar that will help you on hosting a taste test if you want more information. But the benefits of hosting a taste test, it allows students and others to try new products. So before food service goes to the time and investment of purchasing a larger quantity of something, or maybe they want to see if this is really something that's going to work in a grab and go or a breakfast in the classroom, or if it's something that really the children even like, test it out. That's a great students only activity. It can be done where it's not really a quote-unquote event for lots of other people involved and family members. But let's say you are going to include families or a local community, which seems to be of interest to most of the people on the call today. A taste test is a great chance for them to see what's being served to their students, to their children, so that they can have a chance to try it. These can be small portions. They don't have to be a full portion of food. And if you look at that middle picture, you can see they're just in a small little cup where everyone can get a chance to try something. And then having that opportunity to let those children and let those people in attendance tell you what they liked, and then you listening and being able to either provide it or know what's of interest to those in your, which is your market. It also allows you to provide opportunity to try healthy foods that maybe and often the children haven't had before. So incorporating breakfast taste tests is a really great idea, and it's really a great idea no matter what kind of an event you decide to have. You could host a family fun night, fitness night, where your focus is on fitness, but in one station you're doing breakfast taste tests. And that's a great way to include families and give them information on what's happening and the changes that are happening at a breakfast program. Or maybe you want to just have the students trying it as part of National School Breakfast Week to see, what their breakfast choices are and talking about what their top choices were and being able to share with them like on the announcements each day. So these are just some different strategies on what kind of an event and how to incorporate taste tests into the event. But if you go to this link, this will take you to our upcoming events page on Action for Healthy Kids website. And if you click on the School Nutrition Programs, Policies, and Practices tab, it will take you to our archived webinars. You do have to log in and register just as if you were registering for a webinar, but it will provide you with access to all of our archived webinars, and including how to host a taste test. Okay, so where can you host an event? Well, you can host an event anywhere. It can be indoors, it can be outdoors, depending upon your location. If you're in a nice climate, you could do it wherever you need to be able to meet the needs of the people. And it also depends upon what type of event you're going to have. But if you're having it as a traditional breakfast in the morning, you can have it in your cafeteria. It's able to accommodate a number of guests. You can decorate it. You can offer stations for food and education. And you can really make it uniquely to what you want your event to be. But let's say you have a breakfast in the classroom program, or maybe you want to show parents that this is what breakfast looks like on a daily basis in real time, then yeah, I would highly encourage you to have it in your classroom. It would be really good for them to see that, students know how to pick up their breakfast, take it to their seats, and then they can join in and do the same. It's easy for families to stop in before work, especially if it's held in the mornings. And it's, a quick thing. They can see their classroom, they can see the work, they can say hello to their teacher. It's really just a nice PR move in a lot of ways. That public relations is making everybody happy. And also, it allows them to feel like they're involved because, it's hard to volunteer on a weekly or a daily basis in schools. And, people think often that, oh, I don't get volunteers, or, oh, we don't have very many involved parents, or, you know what, if you invite them, I bet they'll come, and you'll be surprised at what kind of results you might see. So when can you host an event? Well, we're talking right now, and our primary focus is National School Breakfast Week. With the events that we host through Action for Healthy Kids, we tie them into National School Breakfast Week. It's easy to join in that national attention, and there's already that focus on school breakfast. But fall is a good time, too. It's a great way to kick off school. It's a great way to highlight your breakfast changes. You can really do it anytime, though. It's easy to incorporate into other events. So like I was mentioning, that family fun night, or maybe you do a fun run, or some other type of wellness event where lots of people are in attendance. incorporate breakfast in there too, and you'll really start to see you're creating more of a bang with what you're doing, because you're hitting so many different modes of school wellness and student wellness. It doesn't have to just be for National School Breakfast Week, and it can be even at night. So like we've talked about, is incorporating into that a family fitness night or something like that with taste test and focus. Sometimes PTA meetings are very highly attended. Often they're not, but maybe if it was focused on nutrition or something like that, food service could come in and be a part of that and incorporate it with school breakfast. The keys here are, you want to be thinking about too, are communication, promotion, and some resources. So communication ideas, you want to think about invitations and sharing the event with all attendees. Promotion and marketing, put up some banners, put up some posters. You could have something that's already made, and it might have some investment of money and time in terms of finding that and preparing that. But then you can also go to incorporating your high school's art clubs and see if they would help as part of a service project or service learning project. So there's really lots of resources available to you that doesn't really require you to have to, quote unquote, purchase something. But share this information, share what you're doing. Positive news is really, I know we always say, it's the bad news that really gets spread, unfortunately. But if you take that initiative of creating that positive press, if you go to the resource page here with through School Nutrition Association, it gives you National School Breakfast Week press releases and marketing ideas. But send out that press release. Talk to your district. They have a communications department often, and maybe they could also help you as well. And invite press to attend, especially if you're having a bigger family or local community event. Because that's one of the things, depending upon the size of your community, those good news pieces are always one of those things they like to share on the, whether it be the visual media, a blog, it could be social media. So don't forget to do any of those avenues as well. So at this point, I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to look through your questions. So keep them coming if you're in the, been putting in your questions. We are pleased to introduce Rachel Garfield. She is the assistant principal at Ingenium Charter School. It's a charter school located in Canoga Park, California, and she's going to share with us her experience in an event that took place during National School Breakfast Week in 2012. Rachel?
Thank you so much, Ellen. It's such a pleasure. We're really grateful to you for inviting us today. So let me give you a little background on our school. Last year we were 262 students. It was actually our second year in operation. We're a kindergarten through 6th grade. 76% of our students received free and reduced meals. And Canoga Park is a small neighborhood located in Los Angeles County in California. Not very far from, I would say probably about 40 minutes from downtown Los Angeles. As I said, last year was our second year in operation, and it was our first year to do the National Breakfast Week, and it was an incredible event. Our students absolutely loved it. Our teachers had a pleasure. As Ellen mentioned before, it did create a lot of positive PR for our school. We're relatively new, so our parents were really excited to come participate. In fact, they were so excited that at our school site council meeting a couple weeks ago, a couple of our parents that wanted to create an obstacle course for it this year and went to some local tire companies to get some. But anyway, we did it as part of Actions for Healthy Kids Breakfast Grants, and we hosted it during National School Breakfast Week last week. And we invited our board, some community members, local businesses, and our families. And we did a week-long event. So every day had a different event going on. For example, one day had a hoop shoot. And at recess, all of our kids by grade level did a hoop shoot, and we had a trophy for our top shooters at each grade level. Another day we did a fun run first thing in the morning. It was a mile, and the kids showed up before school. They did the run. All of our parents came with them. They were standing out there cheering them on. It was really exciting. We had little brothers and sisters there, everyone had a blast. And then from there we went and had breakfast together, which was a really nice event. Another day we did a healthy cooking breakfast day where all the kids by class came into our multi-purpose room, and we cooked different healthy on-the-go breakfast options. So the kids had a chance to make, we did granola, banana pops, and parfaits. Not very expensive, but really fun. The kids loved it, and the kids tried a bunch of foods that they all said when they came in, I don't like that. And I told them, you don't have to like it, you just have to try it. I'm trying to think, we did a lot of events during the week. What we saw was an increase in parents coming in the morning for breakfast after that. We do the free universal breakfast, and like Ellen mentioned, it sometimes gets that idea of, oh, it's only for those kids. Well, we have a lot of parents who have 2, 3, 4 kids. It's hard to get kids up and dressed for breakfast in the morning, so getting them to recognize that this breakfast program is for everyone in our school. It increased attendance not only at breakfast, but it decreased our tardies, which, as we all know as teachers and administrators, are a huge frustration. Also, that week in March, you know, March is when we start, February, March is where we start to see a lot of our attendance dropping. Often, you know, our kids are getting sick, the weather's changing. Our attendance increased that entire week, and largely because the kids were really excited to be here. Oh, I forgot one more thing. We also did a poster contest for healthy eating, and the kids got to vote, and what we want to do this year is turn that into a T-shirt that the kids can wear in lieu of their uniform. We saw, I can say for myself, I also teach 2/3 of the day, and in my own classroom, when I see the kids who have come for breakfast and eaten breakfast and had that morning time with us, they're so much more focused in class and so much more attentive. All of our kids love the activities, and we really try to make sure we're meeting the needs of all of our kids. So not all of our kids are athletes, so we wanted to have events for them where breakfast was highlighted in other ways. We have a lot of very artistic kids, and they were so excited to have their posters all over school. And the contest, the winners of that contest got a whole art kit, and they were so excited to use it. For a cooking class, a bunch of kids actually wanted to start a cooking club after that. So this year we have a culinary arts class on Fridays, started by the kids. We also got a lot of positive feedback, not only from our attendees, but from our parents. To the point that this year parents have already been asking us, when are we doing that again? That was so much fun. What can we do to add to it this year? So I think we're going to have a much bigger, I think we'll see a much bigger attendance this year with our parents and our families, and it'll enable us to reach more out into the community for participation.
And Rachel, you had you're going to be hosting events this year as well during National School Breakfast Week. Do you have an idea yet of what you're going to be doing, or are you going to kind of use the same plan as last year?
We have a couple of changes. Our parents wanted to do like a mud run, kind of like, you know those mud runs where you kind of roll in the dirt and get all dirty? Our school site council was really excited about doing something of that sort where it's like a mud run obstacle course. Our uniform shirts are white, so I'm a little hesitant about that, but we'll see how that works out. We're definitely going to do a cooking class again, a healthy breakfast cooking class. It'll probably take a few days. We'll definitely do the art contest again. We probably will do a taste test this year. A lot of our kids, you know, we live in a community where we're surrounded by McDonald's and Jack in the Box and a lot of other fast food restaurants and not a lot of healthy options. So our kids aren't exposed to a lot of vegetables and fruits that they can use, especially for breakfast. So we're definitely going to incorporate some of that this year. And then again, the fun run we'll do again, and as well as the shoot, because our kids just loved it.
Now, did a lot of effort have to go into planning either the fun run or the hoop shoot?
No, nothing. It was almost nothing. It basically took us getting basketballs. We bought basketballs for the winners of the hoop shoot, and that was their prize. And they were so excited to get a basketball. And it took me saying to the yard aides, hey, you're going to run a hoop shoot for these grade levels while you're out there. It was so, because our recess is relatively well structured, it was really easy. Same thing for the fun run. It took a couple teachers to show up early and stand there with medals for the kids who ran 4 laps. And our kids are honest. They told us, yeah, I ran 4 laps, or no, I didn't.
Right.
Even the cooking class wasn't that much effort. I got a lot of very simple ingredients that we just used for every group. So it wasn't a lot of effort to put into it. It was pretty easy. Did you rotate the schools in, or the students in? And yes. Yes,
Okay.
I set it up in one room and the kids rotated in. This year, because of space, we might actually have to, I might have to actually go into the classroom, just because we have another 100 kids this year that we didn't have last year.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not a lot of effort, and for the reward of what we got, it was totally worth it.
Awesome. Very good. So I'm going to just, a couple of those questions came from our panel, or those in attendance today. A couple of people have kind of shared some of their ideas. We've got one school who's talked about hosting some events during Turn Off TV Week in April, and that's a great opportunity for them to be able to incorporate breakfast. And they're looking forward to trying to figure out some ways to do that. And that's just, a great idea there. And then one other school person was looking to see what other ideas you had. And so thanks for sharing some of your ideas that you have coming on for this year's National School Breakfast Week. If you pause for a second. Okay, so if you have more questions, we're going to move on from Rachel. Rachel, are you all done? I don't want to cut you off.
No, okay. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you for sharing. But feel free, Rachel will be sharing, will be on the call till the end. So if you do have questions and you had it specific to what she was talking about, please feel free to put your question in, and we'll be able to ask her towards the end if you have a question for her. So reminder, you just enter it here in the question slot and hit submit, and we'll be able to scroll through them as we near the end of our call. So some things to think about are those next steps. So form a team. If you don't already have a school wellness team, you might consider that. If you have a school wellness team, or maybe you just have a couple people who will be interested in moving forward, or maybe you just take it to the PTA and say, hey, this is something we'd like to do. Is there anyone that might be able to help? And then you see where it takes you from there. Think about what type of an event you'd want to have. And that's that classified, that category one. I mean, maybe it's an event that's just a little smaller. Maybe you were one of the 50% that never had hosted an event. This is a great chance to, kind of step into it slowly. Or maybe you're one of the 50% that has already hosted an event before, and maybe is ready to expand and move it along that continuum a little bit from, just starting out to, growing a little bit larger. So start thinking about a timeline. Well, okay, National School Breakfast Week is in a month. Can you pull that off? Is it an event that you can put together for National School Breakfast Week this year? Go for it. If it's not, don't give up and wait till next year. Think about what could you do. Do you have an event that's already taking place where you can add breakfast to it? Field day, for example. Many, many schools have a play day or field day towards the end of the year. Great chance to highlight school breakfast. It doesn't matter if it's only being highlighted now and it might only impact a month's worth of participation. It really starts to increase and develop that attention to school breakfast. And then when you come back in the fall, you may be ahead of it again. Think about assigning tasks. Who can do what? What are people's expertise? Somebody might be a great blogger, or somebody might really be into social media, and they can put out those tweets and Facebook messages. And maybe somebody else is really more of an artist, and they would be happy to make signs or help work with that. Or maybe somebody knows contacts at the local press that can help you. So think about who can do what tasks. Then there's another question that hasn't come up from any of our attendees yet, was what about funding? You know what? Some of these things may cost some money. If you're going to be feeding guests, you could charge them, but it's kind of hard to invite someone to come to something where you're then going to charge them $1 or $2 to pay for their breakfast. You can go to your PTA and see if maybe there might be funds there. You could go to your food service, and because food services account is often separate from the school accounts, food service might be able to provide you with funding that would allow you to host additional people and pay for their breakfast. You could go to some of your partners. You might have a grant that you would be able to roll some of those dollars into hosting events. Here at Action for Healthy Kids, we have grants, and then we offer to some of our grantees an opportunity to host events and receive some additional funding to help make that happen. It doesn't require a lot of funds to do these events. Gather educational materials to share. This is key because you really want to be thinking about, you know what, this is a captive audience, so you want to be able to share with them some of the things that are happening. It could be what is served. It could be a sample menu. It could be why do you serve the things that you do. It could be, you know, a sample of the USDA regulations, probably in a little bit more of a layman's terms so that anyone could look at it and understand it clearly. But thinking about what could you share about school breakfast and that would really make a difference to your families and community members. It could be showing how your participation's changed and your scores of on standardized testings, or your classes scores have changed because they're now eating breakfast on a regular basis. You know, it really can be whatever would fit the needs of those in attendance. Celebrate it. You know, go back and really feel proud of the things that you're doing and happy about what's happening at your school, and celebrate. But be sure to follow up. One of the worst things you can do in terms of either events or really, you know, making an effort to change things is forgetting to thank those people that either volunteered or those staff who put in that extra effort and put in that extra time. So if you're the lead, you take the lead and provide a thank you note. If you're an administrator who's involved with it, you know what? We can't always provide funds, and you can't always do a bonus and that type of thing. You can't give time off. But you know what? A thank you goes so far. So take that moment to provide a little bit of a thanks to those who have attended, and also the staff that are putting forth the effort to make it happen. And make sure, especially if you're getting in your big wigs, whether it be your superintendents or school board members, you follow up with them and let them know you appreciate their attendance. You know, survey those in attendance, see what worked and what didn't. You know, if maybe you felt like there was a glitch in moving people in, or maybe you needed to spread time out differently, you know, hear what they say, because sometimes we become very micro-focused and we don't always see the big picture, and hear the positives that come out, so that way you know how to build on it for the future and change what didn't work or make better what was working, and duplicating that. All right, so we're going to go back and just do a quick check to see if there were any more questions that have been submitted. Bear with me, I just have to scroll through a couple of questions here. It looks like we haven't gotten any new questions. And again, if you find that you have a question, shoot it in. We'll take one last look before we move on. Okay, and before we close out the webinar. So if you need additional information, maybe you're considering hosting an event, maybe you know, you might want to just run something through. You can always contact me. My number here is listed, or you can contact me via email. Sometimes that is an easy way. You have a question, shoot it out, and I can shoot you an answer or response back. One of the things that I did talk about is Action for Healthy Kids grants. If you're not already a member of Action for Healthy Kids, I highly recommend you join. There is no cost in joining Action for Healthy Kids. There's really very little time in terms of just filling out the form. You can do it online, but you will get access to our grant opportunities, which will be coming up here within a couple of weeks. So I really highly encourage you, if you're not a member, to please join. We did get a question that popped through. High school breakfast events ideas. Yes, high schools can definitely host events. One of the things that we noticed last year is we had a little over 30 schools host events, and maybe about a quarter of them were high schools. This year we have a bit fewer schools, but another quarter of the schools are hosting events. So those are high schools. And what we're finding is that high schools are just as able to host an event. It's really trying to figure out who, maybe a parent, and having your parent show up for breakfast isn't a cool idea, but maybe there's something else that's going on at the school where breakfast can highlight. It could be, part of the school's concessions going on during their, championship basketball game, or, it could be something that is highlighted as, at a PTA meeting, or, encouraging some of the clubs that are working at the school. You might have a Future Farmers of America or FCA. So FFLA, any of those groups, and SGA might be interested in taking on this task of trying to host a high school event. But what they did, one school, it was tied to a fitness room. They have received funding, for example, from their community. The community helped to pay for a fitness room at their school. And so they were unveiling the fitness room, but instead of just unveiling the fitness room, they decided to make it a breakfast. And that's how they were able to really incorporate the school breakfast. So really trying to think about who might attend at the high school level. And maybe it's not coming in to sit with my child during breakfast, but maybe it's really just coming in to be a part of what's happening in a celebration that might be occurring. Maybe it's your school has reached an award status. It could be a green school, it could be a blue ribbon school. Maybe, as you get through testing, they decide to host a celebration type event. But if you have specific thoughts on high school or need information, I will follow up with you specifically, because I will pull some ideas that we had from last year. I think one of the things that seems to work really well is being able to tag it with something that's either already occurring, or physical fitness is a great opportunity. So it could be a fun run and a breakfast, or it could be a walk, and maybe it's a walk for a charity, or maybe it's something that's going to benefit others or the school, and then there's the breakfast component there as well. There's another question about Healthier U.S. Schools Challenge. This is a great way to increase your ability to turn in and increase your likelihood of reaching different statuses on the Healthier U.S. Schools Challenge. Again, those are based upon a lot of criteria in terms of free and reduced lunches or meals, as well as your breakfast participation levels and things like that. So when you can be able to increase those are good things, and then having these types of events are all good. Rachel, has your school applied for the U.S. Healthier Schools Challenge?
No, not yet, but I'm writing it down right now.
Okay. It really is, it's something I highly encourage all schools to think about, especially those that have a focus on school wellness and have been doing some things that make a difference in terms of school wellness, because when you start to get to those different levels, you really do get some recognition. Sometimes your school district might have some funds, USDA might have some funds as possible awards. So, I do highly encourage that. And that's it. This was one of the questions, was coupling the event with the achievement and recognition of the accomplishment through Healthier U.S. Schools. Thanks for those people that threw those ideas out. There are a couple of you that mentioned that. So I will follow up. A few people have asked me to follow up in terms of secondary and high schools, and I will be doing that in the next few days. Everyone will be receiving an email separate to this tomorrow with the links for the recording as well as the slide deck. You will get the slide deck, so if you want to take this and share it with others, we do want you to be able to do that. And then we will also be putting this up on our website where you can access it as well as other archived webinars. And if you just follow those directions on that one screen or that one slide earlier, you'll be able to do that. And if you do go to actionforhealthykids.org, I highly, highly encourage you to become, A, a member, but B, this doesn't require any membership. It literally takes you maybe a total of 10 seconds. But taking a pledge that says, you know, you want to make a difference and you want to see a change in the amount of obesity and helping every kid become healthy. We're trying to create a movement of 100,000 people joining in this movement to really make a difference and show that it's a cause that people are concerned about and want to see changed. So please make an effort to join in and take this pledge to help make our schools a healthier place and our students and our children healthier people. At this point, I'm just going to do one quick check to see if there's anything else anybody threw in before we end. Oh, hang tight. Okay, so there was a question, where can I sign up, or is that to join a team? So if you want to sign up for Action for Healthy Kids, there's a place on the Action for Healthy Kids website where you can join. Taking a pledge doesn't require you to be a member, so just join in and take the pledge. But on our website, it will offer you an opportunity to where you can join and become a member of Action for Healthy Kids, receive a newsletter on a periodic basis. And then in terms of if you want to start a team at your school, feel free to do that, and or you know, take it to those who might already have a team in place. It really helps because then you don't have to create that team yourself. And again, if you have any questions that haven't been answered, feel free to follow up with me, and I'll be sure to get back with you. If I don't get back with you within a day or two, you know, remind me, because sometimes things get, emails get overlooked because of full inboxes, but you know how that goes too. So at this point, we're going to end. I thank Rachel Garfield for joining us today and sharing about her school. I hope you got a interest out of about hosting an event and more information, and that will help to move you along in terms of hosting a breakfast event. And then finally, there will be a poll that will, a survey that will come out with the information tomorrow, and I ask that you just take the 2 minutes to answer some of the quick questions that helps us to plan our webinars, and we're already beginning to plan webinars for next year. So please share your ideas with us. At this point, the webinar is ending, and I appreciate everyone so much for joining us today. Thanks so much, and have a super day.
The organizer